Thank you for your willingness to come and attend and listen as we go through the business of the school board. I'd like to say, extend my sympathies to Maggie Spagnola for losing her grandfather. He's heading out tonight to go to Arizona? California. Okay.
Drive safe.
Yeah, drive safe. Not easy losing a relative. As we start out this meeting, we'll start with a prayer that Mr. Clary. Mom?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any additions or questions regarding our agenda for the evening? Okay, then I would entertain a motion for approval of our agenda for the evening.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Okay, don't forget to turn on your cookies.
Sorry.
Okay, motion by Mr. Sukan to approve the agenda. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Anderson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. Were there any questions regarding the consent agenda and the items on that? No? Okay, then hearing none, the consent agenda is adopted by unanimous consent. Do we have either Minico or Mount Harrison's representative here? I think we have. Oh.
Hello, you have two this time. So, I'm Ellie Contreras, for those who don't know me. I'm the school board representative, and this is my last meeting with you. However, I would like to introduce you to Italy. She'll be the one saying the news today.
Madam Board of Trustees, I'm Italy Jensen.
Hi, sorry, could you repeat your name for me one more time?
I'm Italy Jensen.
I-T-L-A-L-Y, just like the country?
I-T-A-L-L-I-E. It's said like the country, but
Okay.
yeah, I will be next year's
Is the light on for that?
Was working.
Yeah, it was working.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So just some of what's been going on at Minico. We are finally done with our ISAT testing. We will get those scores in June. And then our track team, we have 6 members that are going to state. And for our tennis team, we have 2 members going to state, and those are our girl pair for tennis. Sadly, our softball and baseball didn't make it, but we're very proud of them. They did a great job. We had a college and career fair that was very successful, thanks to our Gear Up program. And for our FFA greenhouse sale, we had great success. The only thing that wasn't sold all the way was just the vegetables. Everything else was sold out, so it was really great for them. And I'll be handing something to them.
Okay, so I wanted to say this because it's about seniors, right? So our last day will be on the 24th. Our trip to Lagoon will be on the 25th, and graduation it's on the 1st. I hope to see you all there and take some pictures with me. And yeah, that's it. Do you have any questions for me or Italy? We're here to answer.
What are your plans for next year?
Well, I'm actually going to ISU, just close to family and stuff, and I want to go for general business. I'm actually going during the summer, so right after graduation, my classes start. So I'm excited. I also want to learn another language, and before I forget, I want to thank you all because English is my second language, and you guys were all kind and nice to me through this journey. So yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, let me say it's been a pleasure having you as our student representative, and we have enjoyed your reports, even though I had to strain sometimes to understand you. And we have enjoyed your enthusiasm and your spirit for giving us the reports, and it's been a lot of fun, and we look forward to you as well, Italy. Thank you. Anyone else have any other comments or questions?
I'd just say congratulations on your career and moving forward and taking that next step in your future. And hopefully you give it your all.
And And I can tell you our lawyer, Mr. Cotton, is an ISU alum. That's what he claims first, even though his law degree came from U of I. He claims ISU, so he's going to cheer you on.
Let's go, Bengals. Yes.
I think for me, I just want to say public speaking is always difficult. Doing it in your second language, you've done a phenomenal job. Keep that up. It's something you'll always be able to use in life, and I think you've done a great job for being as young as you are. English your second language. I've been super impressed by you. We've been very blessed to have you as our student representative.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us this year.
Oh, thank you. You're so cool.
Hear that? All right. Well, thank you again, and we wish you the best in your future. Thank you.
You too. And I really hope to see you graduation. We can
Well,
We'll be there.
we'll be there.
We will
You'll be
there. You
shaking
have
our
to come
hands.
shake our
They have to
hands.
be there.
Yep, we have to be there.
Duh, but we need a picture, okay? That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mount Harrison.
Push the bottom.
I'm Kiara Grant. I'm from Mount Harrison. I'll be talking about what's been happening. So we did a spring fling recently, and we had other games that other teachers did. We got our testing done for our ISATs. We had kindness week last week, and then we had our teacher appreciation, and we wrote notes to all the teachers and went and gave them to them. We did handouts for May the 4th be with you because we had 15 days left. And our teacher, Rep Key, he is the teacher of the year. So we're proud of that. And we just hit our deadline.
It died.
And we just got our yearbooks. So we'll get them soon.
You can grab this from me.
My name is Claire Andrew. I'm also from Mount Harrison High School. I'll be talking about what's going to come up. For June 1st is the end of the year barbecue, and after today we have 10 days left of school, 7 days for the seniors, and on the 25th, all the seniors will be going to Lagoon, and also on the 25th, all of the district's computers will be turned in, and June 8th is the start of summer school, and yeah.
Make sure you speak well enough.
I'm Santiago Gonzalez.
Plus, but that's true.
I'm Santiago Gonzalez from Mount Harrison Student Council, and June 1st is our last day of school, but we'll be having graduation on the 31st of this month.
And you're not looking forward to it at all, right? He's not graduating yet.
I'm Chris Gibson. I'm going to be graduating this year, and I thought it would be appropriate for me to talk about the graduates. We're going to have 42 expected kids graduating this year from our school.
Did you say 42?
Yeah, that's the number we got. I don't know if that's low or high than normal, but
I think it's higher than normal.
It's higher, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a great number.
Congratulations.
and so
Awesome.
far this year we've all together gotten 5 kids that are going to be graduating early. Whether it's a year early or just a quarter or whatever, they're graduating early, so we're proud of them. And that's all I have.
Oh. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
guys.
will see you at graduation.
Yes, yes, we will. And thank you for Ms. Thompson for bringing us students to give the reports all the time. Thank you. Okay. Who's going to go first? West Minico, welding, animal science, completers, trip. Which one?
Okay, done deal.
Okay, that works. Good, good. All right, Madam Chair, Board, I would just want to. This thing sounds strange. It's like echoey.
Just put the mic on the table.
All right, I'll set it on the table. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to present some good news for what's going on here at West Minico. Just some highlights. We're working on some intervention strategies throughout this school year. Our community school program, it's really kicked off and running from the start of the year to now. We had a barbecue at the beginning of the year. The success of that, paired along with having good community relations with our PTO, has made an opportunity to where we've been able to be more inclusive with parents when it comes to our ISAT testing, and that was a very positive experience. I just got done with a conversation with some staff today, as well as a colleague of mine. We feel that hopefully, in my heart, we're starting to turn the corner, and we want good things to happen. I was pretty frustrated when I found out we were in the bottom 5%, just as any other school would be. I take that personal to heart. Uh, my wife could vouch I didn't even sleep for about a week, so it was not a pleasant experience. But taking that, looking at some of the deficiencies here with getting the community more involved on board, we think that we're finally starting to get that. We're building a positive building culture, and one of the things that's been really cool is that we've even brought in, we create what's called the Principals Council. You have Student Council, they do the vote, but we wanted another council that consisted of maybe kids that don't speak out very much, maybe your kids that are musically inclined, kid in the back of the room, and that's been very positive. We've utilized them to help drive some of our decisions. We use them in our school-wide improvement plan. It's just been very positive. Also, we have our Hope Squad. It's been thriving. Next year, we're wanting to bring even more educational opportunities into our parent-teacher conferences. This year, towards the end of the year, we've brought in a few Department of Health and Welfare, law enforcement, just some educational opportunities to kind of teach parents on trends and how to protect their kids from cyberbullying, vaping, drugs, alcohol, as well as just mental health that's positive. So we got some good things going. We did have an ISAT celebration for our kids. They said that they wanted to get the ISATs done in 5 days. This came from the Principals Council, as well as just from the rumblings I've heard from the rest of the community at West. And we provided, they worked hard. We gave them an opportunity to have a week where during advisory time, they were able to be outside. And at this time of the year, after this horrendous winter, it was a positive scenario for sure, to say the least. But I am happy to say that according to our scale scores, we're starting to see a little bit of progress. And this is just from the data that's come in. I visited with our testing coordinator today. She's very positive. Now, here's the question that isn't answered. Is it enough to get into the proficient? That's going to be hard to do when you look at the fact that's a moving target every year. But nonetheless, we're trying to stay optimistic. We're starting to see some growth. And that was something that last year, in looking at the data, we saw none. So it was very little. Let's put it that way. Our PTO, they played a huge role in our school's success this year. Just some things they've done. They've helped us get a new football scoreboard. The last one we had, the lights were replaced by starling nests. So this has been a very big addition. We're very excited. They've helped out with clubs. They've helped out in certain areas in the classroom as far as getting some more materials for the curriculum. That's been very positive. PTO has also done some things for teacher appreciation. They gave staff gifts for the year. They've helped us create some behavior and academic incentives. We've got a wheel that kids can spin when they're caught doing something that's really positive for the culture at West. Just as an example, not too long ago, I gave a kid a coupon because saw some trash, picked it up, put it in the wastebasket. We had a conversation of where, look, this is what it's like to be in a community of learners, but it's also what it's like to be in a community out there in real life, because you get what you give. And those are kind of the things that we're trying to instill in our population. These are just Other things that the PTO helped us get: whiteboards, staff room countertops, volleyballs, nets. We had nets that had huge holes in them. This was from when I started. When I started, Roy and Gillette said these have seen their better days probably about 5-10 years ago. But these are just some of the things that we're starting to see improvements in. We brought in some new band drums, choir sheets, music. We're getting choir risers. So just very positive. The PTO does some treat sales. They utilize some of the kids that are both in the student council as well as just our general public audience to help do something that's good for the culture at West and to try to bring some more funds in so that we can continue to provide some of those opportunities. We had a door decorating contest this year. That was cute. That's what our student council wanted to do. Yeah, we put in there, I put this in, I survived the dances barely. Towards Christmas, I turned in a little bit of a Grinch, just kind of, kids trying to keep them engaged in the content, but we did still have dance and it did end up being a success. Our Hope Squad, they did a scavenger hunt, just kind of working on some kindness, positive self-imagery. Our Hope Squad has been a tremendous success. They've worked really hard to help our culture grow. This year, Stokes Equipment donated twice to our Hope Squad, totaling $3,500. And one of the programs that we do at West, Mr. Fairchild came up with this one. It's a Think Differently t-shirt. If you're thinking differently as far as how you're approaching learning, we talk a lot about the Danielson model, and it's a lot of it's student-led instruction. So anytime that me or him see someone that's teaching in a fashion where the kids are in a leadership role, we're definitely trying to take a moment to express to those staff that, hey, this is what education is about. This is what Danielson's about. It's all about giving kids those opportunities to lead. East and West, we collaborate and we put on a great production for the Lion King Jr. We've had some great employees of the year, Mrs. Murphy and Mrs. Milliron. Just to hit on a keynote with Mrs. Milliron, she has brought in, I would guesstimate right now without looking at the sheets, over $50,000 worth of STEM equipment into West. And her room's full. We're looking at moving her into a much bigger room so that she continue to grow that program. One of the greatest aspects that Mrs. Milliron is just top notch in, it's reaching those kids that are underserved or have special circumstances where they need more help. She does an extreme amount of pair share type activities to help so that those kids are able to participate in something that, let's be honest, not every educator has that gift that they're able to take a step back and say, what do you need? How can I help you get there? She's just tremendous. So our sports, these are just our final standings for our sport teams this year. Now, Carrie, I did share this with you, so you can share it. You have the slideshow here. Art, just some of the things that we've done. Miss Giroux, she does a fantastic job thinking outside the box, giving kids opportunities. Very positive. And she also utilizes that with her Hope Squad, which has been a success. Our consumer science, our facts class, they did some baking of cake, doing some decorative stuff. Science, right here, we did a little bit of a roller coaster type activity. This is what happened in Mrs. Darbitt's class. This goes back to Mrs. Milliron's classes. So one of her drones classes, they use some pretty heavy duty equipment there that's potentially dangerous. Kids had to create a sign that, warning, you're going into a drone zone. But then she works with kids in virtual sets or whatever and trying to get them to where they're able to go outside and do it in a safe mannerism. But also kids are required ahead of time to go post the perimeter so that they know, the kids that are walking through at that time know, hey, this is a dangerous opportunity. We don't want to get hurt. After school STEM, that's her again. She's had some great after school programs that have been very positive. Last summer, she had one that went on, and it was cool to see those kids that, generally more reclusive, not as engaged, have an opportunity to excel at something that they really enjoyed. That's why we're here. Our community school grant, the Idaho Food Bank program, has been doing very well. These are just some of our future distribution dates. In talking to Mrs. Rigby and Mrs. Rich, we're finding that, we're dispersing these materials at Minico. We're getting feedback that the need is much more here as far as low income than what the folks that are putting this on would have guesstimated. So it's just been really good. We're looking for more providers to bring resources to the school to address student needs. We are Minidoka, we are West Minico, and we are better than, or West is best. I caught myself. Greg's not, yeah. Okay, any questions, guys?
Corey, I do have a question. So you shared some great things about STEM, and then we also talked about some of those students that are underrepresented. Do we see that some of those students from maybe households that maybe aren't getting the support from home, are they getting involved in some of the STEM activities, the after-school STEM activities? Are we seeing that connection happen?
I think that's going to take time. Do I think it's starting to improve? Absolutely. I've had a couple families that are on my radar that a year ago were not involved at all, and just over time and providing those opportunities, bringing in the community school model, they actually volunteered to come and help with our parent-teacher conference, and it was, or not parent-teacher conference, ISATs, and it was just a success. Do I want to see that grow more? Absolutely. The school's the heart of the community, and I've got a leadership team now, brand new, that's where we want to go.
Awesome.
We want Paul Hayburn to be extremely proud of West.
Yeah, I'd like to see that connection. Let us know where we can help in that area. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Kneep. Anybody else have anything they want to say? All right. Let's hear about the welding and animal science completers trip.
Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Parker, we're here to present and tell you about we have two capstones in our FFA ag programs, which is the welding and the animal science. So this year, because of some of the grant money that we had left over from RTEC, we were able to take these kids on a trip. And I have always, since I started teaching last year, I wanted to set up a deal to take them to the Avaraz mill in Portland, Oregon, where they make the steel that they weld on every day. And so it's a pretty cool trip. And with those funds, we were able to do that this year. And we had Jessica bring her animal science completers through. So these are kids that have completed 4 years of welding or animal science at Minico. And it was an awesome trip. So we started out, we left on a Monday morning. We went to Western Trailers in Boise is our first stop. The animal science went to the aquarium there in Boise. And then we stayed that night in Baker City. Tuesday we went to Pendleton and went through the big rodeo grounds, and it's a pretty neat little town there. And then we went into Portland, and then the next day is when we went to Avaraz and to Far West Steel, which is where we buy most of our steel in our program. Jessica was able to go to the zoo and do things there. But I'm going to have the boys here. We did get to go deep sea fishing on the last day before we came home. So, but that can't be their highlight. So, but it probably was. But we're going to have each one of them just talk a little bit about their experience there, and then Jessica will talk about some of her behind the scenes stuff that they did at the zoo and the aquarium. Go ahead, Briggs.
I'm not sure how to start this, but I think it's like, my name is Briggs Siemens. It was pretty cool going. I think like one of my favorite. It wasn't like one single thing, but like the different places we went. Because we went to the plate mill, then we went to what was it, Far West or was it, what was the last place? Yeah, Far West. It's kind of like the process of how we get our steel to our shop and how it all works. And then also it just opened up a few more opportunities in like different areas of like in the welding or welding careers you can go into. So it was good for, I don't know, making me think about my future a little bit more and what I want to go into. So good.
Excellent.
I'll step over.
I'm Garrett Bingham. So I really like the Western trailers because I work in a shop where we build trailers. So it's really interesting to see a different shop and the complexity that goes into it and the quality and the time they take on those. And Pendleton was also a really cool stop to go and see the rodeo grounds, and it's a really interesting little town to go walk around.
My name is Brandon Dunlap, and I want to say that pretty much everything that we went through, all of the stops that we had along the way, I want to say I enjoyed it all. It was a great experience. For me, definitely the top two experiences for myself was either Western Trailers, where we got to weld. We had a little competition. I took second place in TIG and no, I took first in TIG. I won the TIG competition and took second in the mild steel, I believe, the MIG steel. So that was great. I won a welding hood from there and a couple of gloves. And so that was definitely one of the best highlights from there. And then again, the deep sea fishing, that was a great experience. I really enjoyed that. It was really fun. And then afterwards, just cleaning them up, and then when we got home, eating them was definitely a really good experience. I enjoyed it.
That's awesome.
It's only if you like fish.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just going to briefly touch on our animal science portion. The young ladies are at work today, which is good. I told them, please be a good industrious member of society. So they are working today. Our biggest difference for us was going to the University of Portland. We toured a college campus there in Portland, and that was really good. We do have two of our three that are planning to go to college immediately after graduation, so we're excited for them. And actually, two of the three are planning on studying animal science or veterinary science, so I'm excited for them. We also went to the Oregon Zoo, and we got a little bit of a behind-the-scenes tour. We couldn't take any pictures, but we were able to go back into their vet room, and they had one of their bears laid out on the table, and they were drawing blood samples and doing some blood tests on that. So the girls were able to participate in that, and that was really unique. And then they took him into the elephant enclosure, and they were able to participate in the elephant show also, which I think is the highlight of their experience. And that was pretty fun. They got to play in there for probably 20 or 30 minutes, and that was really a unique experience for them. Overall, I just think that it was eye-opening for some of these kids that haven't been a lot of different places to look around and see that there are such a variety and so many different opportunities available to them. And this trip just overall was just phenomenal.
Well, I got to tell you about the Avaraz meal because these guys didn't cover that. We don't have any pictures of that because they were very, very strict on that. So we did have one kid that took his phone out and tried to take a picture, about got us all kicked out. But what they were making that day at the mill, so they bring these great big slabs of steel in off of the ships, and each slab weighs 88,000 pounds. So they can put one slab on one semi to haul it from the dock to their mill, where they put it in this great big furnace, and this thing is probably 3 of these gyms, and it's just glowing red, and you got all these big slabs in there. And when those slabs get to a certain degree, they roll out into this big roller, and these 12-inch thick slabs of steel, they have a roller system that it just runs down a conveyor and just goes back and forth. It's got water spraying on it so it cools, but when it comes out the other end finally, it's 3/6 of an inch thick, and it's pretty awesome. So it's fun to watch that. It's loud, it's dirty, it's awesome. But great experience for these guys. I mean, I worked in the welding field for 25 years, and I've been to that place once, so it was pretty awesome that they did that. And something that we hope that we can do with our seniors every year to take them and give them that experience. The Western Trailers, these guys did really well. They were highly impressed with the kids. It does help where I came from industry to teach them some of those little tricks that they usually don't get in the school. So Western Trailers was really excited to, and any Minico kid that ever applies there, they're probably going to get the job now because these guys did so well with their tests. So it was awesome. We'd like to thank the board for providing that opportunity for us. It was awesome. So any questions you guys have?
How many fish did you catch?
Our boat had 15.
About 15.
What kind?
Lingcod, rockfish.
Mostly cod. But I will tell you that one of my favorite is crab. But after cleaning 150 crab, I probably will never eat crab again in my life.
Bonnie will eat them for you.
I have no
Oh,
desire.
yeah, right.
So they caught a lot of crab. We brought home lots and lots of crab.
Yes, awesome.
Did anybody get sick on the boat?
Garrett, would you like to
little fish food?
So Garrett picked the wrong boat because I told him anyone that goes out with me, if you get sick, we are not going back to shore. The other two boats went back early, but Garrett just had to keep throwing up over the edge because I wasn't going back either.
So
Did pretty good.
And how many students did you say you had on the whole trip?
So there was 11 kids.
11.
So there was 4 girls and 7 boys. So
nice.
And the food, it was great. I mean, everywhere we ate really well. It was just good.
Did you make it to Tillamook cheese there in
We did.
Tillamook?
The girls did.
The girls.
The boys did not.
They were so kind to stay and clean the crab and the fish, and I slipped the girls away, and we went in and had
ice cream. Of course you did.
Awesome.
It took us about 3 hours to clean all the crabs, so we missed the Tillamook.
Yeah. Maybe next time the girls will stay and there you go.
Next time we'll just go fishing. We'll forget about the crab.
Oh, come on. Oh.
Wow, you get good at cleaning them out.
But it was a great experience. So
wonderful.
Carson loved it. He had a blast.
Yeah, Carson was on the trip with us, so it was good. It was fun. They chose to ride a bus. They didn't want to fly. They wanted to ride a tour bus. So, but it was okay. It was good. Saw a lot of country. Saw a lot of cool things.
Yes, you
so
did.
It was good.
Saw some pretty country too.
Pretty country, yeah.
It was.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you
for the report.
for sharing with us very much. Appreciated it. Do we have any patron comments today? Did everybody get a chance to read the Mount Harrison online proposal? Ms. Magnolia, you're up next with that.
We did.
So one of the things that we have looked at this year is we've lost a few students to online schools. And one of the problems with losing students to online schools, specifically they've been mostly going to Richard McKenna, which is the online alternative school here in Idaho. One of the problems that we've seen is that they sometimes don't succeed, and then we don't know that they're not being successful, and we have no way to just kind of bring them back in. 6 months later, they'll show up and they'll be like, yeah, I washed out a long time ago. And so we thought, well, we need to find a way to help protect our numbers, but also to help these students who are they're out of school youth, and so bringing them back in and keeping a handle on them. So the idea behind the alternative online school is that students who, for whatever reason, can't go to day school, we'd move them into our online program, and then that way we can kind of keep a handle on them. We can transition them back and forth if that needs to happen, and you really just work with the kids and not lose them. That's the main thing, is we just don't want to lose these kids. We want to keep a handle on them. Right now I've got 42 kids on a list that are not currently in school. These are students who this year would be juniors or seniors. They're not currently in school, not currently graduated. I've made phone calls. A lot of them dropped out saying they were going to get their GED, but then didn't. And so I've got a pretty good pool of students that we could try to pull back into this online school. Now, the school itself would just be a program within our school. So it's not a separate school, it's just a program within our school. We transition them back and forth between our kids, between our schools. That would only be open to Mount Harrison students. They have to be at-risk students. And then I just wanted to speak real quick to a lot of the reasons why students are out of school. And one of them is, they have to have full-time jobs to support their families. Some of our young moms, they think that after they have the baby, they're going to come back to school, and sometimes they give it a really good try, and sometimes they're not successful with that. We've had some students this year who've had chronic health problems, and in fact, we have one student right now who is homebound, and we've been providing him services through homebound. If we do this online school, we could transition into that instead, and then we wouldn't have to use the homebound for that. And then also, occasionally students get into trouble, which puts them before the disciplinary committee. And we've had 2 students this year that we maybe could have kept and graduated through an online program because they were not allowed to come back into the building. So we have a lot of students out there that we could maybe reach with this program, and that's our idea behind it. If you guys have read it, what questions do you have?
So it looks like it takes 3 weeks to get a credit then. Is that the plan? So they work on 1 credit at a time while they're doing this.
Yeah, 1 credit at a time. 60 hours is what's required for a credit. So you're really looking at 6-hour days for about 3 weeks, and then they can move to the next one, 6-hour days at 3 weeks. The difference, and we have to have those 6-hour days, but they're asynchronous, which means that they can work at their own times. So if they get off work at midnight and they want to work all night, that's fine. Whatever time they want to work on their classes, then they can.
So my question was regarding the teachers themselves. Like, well, one, I'm assuming you talked to the teachers and got them to say, yeah, let's do this. But is this going to take away from their normal? I mean, obviously they have their normal class time, and they have students in there that they can't walk away from. But what's this doing to affect them in the sense that now they have another class to teach online, but they're still teaching the same amount of classes during the regular hours of the day? That's what I'm assuming?
So they won't be teaching the same number of classes. So what they'd have is 1 class period. Each of those teachers would have 1 class period dedicated to doing the online school. So I have 4 teachers who are going to be shouldering this, and what they're going to do, we have 4 periods a day. So each of them will have a period that's their online period. They won't necessarily be working directly with the kids at that time. What they'll be doing is creating their lessons, doing their, creating their lectures, touching base with students, because in the proposal there's a requirement that they have to touch base with students so many times, and then also that they have to touch base with parents at least once during the 3 weeks. And then also the teachers have to have some office hours, and those office hours can be during that period that they're set to be on doing online, or I talked to them about it, and they can have some of their office hours after school too if they'd like to. So that's up to the teachers. And with the 4 teachers that we've got signed up for it, we do have all of the major subjects covered. So because I have a lot of teachers who have more than 1 endorsement, so that helps a lot. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. I just want to make sure it's not taken away from like the current kids that are enrolled in class.
Yeah, no, they'll have a dedicated period for it, and the funding for that. So we're making it 20 students. We're topping it at 20 students to begin with, and 20 students. In alternative funding, we get 1 FTE for every 12 students. But with ADA, so average daily attendance, sometimes you get students who don't show up or don't complete their work, which in this case it would be their attendance is based on percentage of work completed. So if we've got 20 students enrolled, we're expecting to get the FTE for at least 12. So that will help us to pay for that 1 period a day that the teachers are giving up to do the online school.
how does this compare to like an IDLA type style classes? Did you kind of mirror something like that to come up with your?
Good question. So, to do our research, we contacted Oneida, which is a big online school. We contacted Snake River Opportunity Center, which is also an online school, and then we contacted Richard McKenna, which is the alternative online there in Mountain Home, and we talked to them about how they handle it, and we're most closely mirroring what they do at McKenna. And the only real difference with McKenna is that they do 2 classes for 6 weeks, and we're doing the 1 class for 3. And the main reason we're doing that is so that our Power School works out, so that it's not going to create a new complication for Power School. So it'll be seamless for us. And so what they use for their envelope, a lot of them are using Canvas, which is what we're going to use, is Canvas. And one of our teachers that's kind of leading this is an IDLA teacher. And so a lot of the curriculum is going to be delivered in a similar way that IDLA does deliver their curriculum. However, the curriculum we're using is our curriculum for our school. So we're not, this is a kid, the idea is that a kid who does it online is going to get the exact same content as a kid who does it in person. And so that's why we're using our teachers and having them they're basically just mirroring the class that they teach in person.
And your wait list is based off of kids that are currently not showing up to class?
OSY, yeah, out of school.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're not taking kids that obviously are in class saying, "Oh yeah, I want the."
Yeah, you guys can just come online. No, no, that's a hard no. So basically, what we're going to do, we're not going to tell kids, no, you can't do our online. We'll put them on the wait list, but kids are going to jump to the top of the wait list based on need. And so, yeah, I can put a kid on a wait list who just wants to be online, but he's not going to get there because these other kids have all got the need. So we're going to base it on need. And we do interviews just even when we take kids at Mount Harrison, we do an interview. So we're also going to require an interview for the online school. And then I don't know if you read through it, you probably also saw that we have an application process on there. And in the application, it's pretty thorough about you agree to this, you agree to this, you agree to this, you agree to this. And then if they're not meeting those agreements, then we will transition them back to our in-person. We will try. Some of them will just drop out, but we will try to transition them back to the in-person. Because we're not going to just have them sit there and spin their wheels on an online program that they're not going to do. They have to actually be doing it.
So do we feel like there's going to be any kickback though from your basically your process of picking who's going to be in there? Is there going to be anybody that's going to have you expect complaints of somebody saying, why did this person get picked over me?
Oh, all the time, but I have broad shoulders and I'm okay with that.
Okay, fair enough.
I do that all the time.
You mentioned 42 students that you were.
Yeah, so I've got a list of 42 students right now who are in my junior and senior cohort who aren't currently going to school anywhere. So when we got our cohort lists, we went down, and anybody who hasn't gone to school with us, we try to find out where they're going to school, where are they now, did they go get a GED, are they going to school, and we had 42 that aren't currently schooled in any way whatsoever.
Well, my question was, if you had room for more than 20, do you think you could get more of those 42?
Maybe. It's just going to depend. I think capping it at 20 to start does a few things, and notice I said to start. If this goes smoothly, we can expand it as needed, but it makes it a manageable number for the teachers, which is really important, especially at the beginning, because they've really got to build these. They build these classes in Canvas, and it's a lot of work for them. Also, getting used to the process and working out the kinks. We want those smaller. But also, by keeping it at 20, it makes it very desirable for the kids. So there's a little bit of a carrot there. Because if you mess up, you don't have an opportunity to come back to that school again until the next semester. And so by having that wait list and not just automatically taking them back, there's a little bit of, you got some skin in the game.
Right.
Yeah. What we don't want is for them to just be enrolled in online school and then blow it off. So they really have to, we want people who are legitimately making an effort. One of the negative impacts that I do see as a possibility is that we could get we could mess with our grad rate. And the way that that would happen is like right now, if I get a student who switches to McKenna online and then they wash out, their McKenna's drop out, not mine. But if they go to my online school and then don't complete it, now they're my dropout. But to me, the trade-off is that I think we can give better supports to our kids. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to pull more kids. I also would love to see us expand it to, you know, pulling kids from Cassia County, Jerome County, Lincoln County. You know, we are surrounded by other counties that kids need some online schooling with that support, with that alternative school supports. And so hopefully that will offset it at some point. Okay. Any other questions? Anything I can clarify? Anything else? All right, well, thank you for the time and clarification, and looks like we will be taking action on this later. Okay, thank you. Did anyone have any comments or questions regarding the administrator and department and committee reports that we had? Okay. We don't have any policies to discuss this month. How about any questions for Dr. Parker regarding his superintendent report? Or did you have any other further comments?
Nope, it was late. I can tell you that.
Anything else? Okay.
Did you want to talk about the medical fundraiser, basketball fundraiser? Anything from there?
It's next. It's in the next one.
Mine schedule was.
This one here, I know you're here, so yeah, it's down here. Okay, I'm glad you trust me. That means that we are moving into business for the action items, and we had the inclusion in our board book of a letter regarding discipline of a student. It's 515231. And does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? I think that the letter was pretty self-explanatory. Kind of sounds like this is the action that needs to take place. Okay. I would entertain a motion for approval of the discipline of student 5-15-23-1.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the discipline letter for student 5-15-23-1.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Perez. Second by Mrs. Anderson. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mount Harrison online proposal. What do you think? Are we going to, do you have any other thoughts on it? If no one has anything to say, I would entertain a motion regarding the Mount Harrison online proposal.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the Mount Harrison online proposal.
Okay, motion by Mr. Sukan to approve the Mount Harrison online proposal.
Second.
Second by Mr. Perez. Comments, questions?
The only thing I guess I would have is what kind of things do we have? I know that the letter kind of talks about I guess I'm worried about the failure, you know, like when we, but I think you have a pretty good plan in place, it seemed like, of following up with them and checking it out. So maybe it's just, I'm sure you're scared too, so.
We are. A lot, you know, there are a lot of unschooled youth in this area, and they are for many different reasons, and we're not going to save them all. We just hope that we can maybe help a few.
No, I think you have I think what you're trying to do is definitely the right direction, and I really do hope we're successful in it.
Okay, motion on the floor. Any further comments? Second. It's been seconded.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Perez did, but
there you go.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Minico Boys basketball fundraiser was included. Request for that.
Madam Chair, is there a motion?
I guess I have a question. I mean, maybe it was just a typo, but it basically says that we'll be purchasing car washes at 17 a piece and then selling them for 17 a piece.
But then there's a donation from Tommy's Car Wash back
to them.
To them. That's
$7.
That's the fundraiser part.
That's why I just didn't know if it was supposed to say, hey, they're you're selling them, buying for 10, selling them for 17. But if that's what they're doing, is they're getting the money back, then that would make sense.
That's my understanding from the
They're
letter.
getting $7 of that back.
Yeah, 7 of it back.
And I thought it was pretty neat that they came to the program and offered a fundraiser and not the program going out and looking for one. So I thought that was pretty good.
Well, the owners definitely have some strong ties to Minico basketball.
Yeah, they do.
That's right.
They do. Very strong ties.
If I did check on something on this too. If for some reason they don't sell all the tickets that they basically get, Tommy's will buy them back as well. So there is no opportunity for loss in the situation.
Okay, cool. Very nice. Nice. Any other comments or questions regarding
So is there
this?
an amount though that, I mean, obviously it says they're going to buy them at 17 a piece, but I mean, is there an amount that we're approving here of how much they're willing to spend before we get the reimbursement? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
Do you know?
I have no idea.
Is there some way we can find
Pre-purchase
out?
a certain
I can text
amount.
Mr. Manning right now.
Is there a way to table this and come back and to it while we find out?
Because essentially we're approving that of them purchasing an amount
A certain
that we
amount,
don't know
but we don't know
how
what
much that is.
Yeah, that's true. And being a new coach, I can understand he probably didn't put it all in there, but Miss Trustee Perez down here is checking with the coach right now.
They may just be selling them first, kind of like they do the oranges for baseball. They'll sell them and then they'll go get the tickets, distribute them from there. I'm not entirely sure.
That would make sense.
I'm checking because I thought
Yeah, I
Mr.
just
Manning.
like I said, I wasn't sending out a blank check here,
Yeah, I thought Mr. Manning told me that the tickets had to be purchased ahead of time, and then they sell them, and then that's when the reimbursement. So I reached out to him. However, when I talked to him, he was going to look to see if he can get someone to help them in the purchase ahead of time, not actually use the school funding for that initially, and then we could then. So, yeah. So I just texted him. In fact, what he was going to reach out to Harper Farms LLC and see if Harper Farms, which is who he works for, would purchase the tickets up front. They would go sell them. They'd get the reimbursement, and then the school would then reimburse Harper Farms for that. So, but I just sent him a text message to find out.
So do you want to wait until you have an answer?
Hopefully he'll answer soon.
Could we just move
Do they have
down
open
the?
gym
We
tonight,
could move
Kim?
down and come back to it.
Do they have open gym tonight?
Yeah, because I'd say
I
right
would
now
like to do
we
that.
should table it until we know the
Yeah,
answer.
could we just table it for
We
a
will.
little bit?
We will wait on item C under business until we have just a wee bit more information, hopefully within a few minutes. In the meantime, let's go on to our policies. We have policy 268.00 self-directed learner, and then 268.00P for procedure. This one has been before us. We can pass this tonight if you are so inclined. Also, the open enrollment policy 302.00. This could also be passed tonight. This is to get something set so the administrators know for sure this is the cap on what we can do for open enrollment per school. And then Ms. Anderson, did you have a question on policy 660.00 evaluation?
I do. I would like to have some discussion on that. It is a first reading. It is coming out new. There's a lot of changes in there. I have recently learned that our administration and administrators are out there, and I know they have other things to do besides doing their employee evaluations. And I was recently on a trip with a few of them. Many of them said, "Up, I've got to go back to my room. I've got 4 hours probably or 5 hours in front of me doing evaluations, certificated evaluations." I would like to have a discussion on this with them and see how many hours are really they're putting in out there when they could really be putting hours into our kids and not spending on teachers' evaluations and how long it really takes them per employee out there. I know it's different between certificated and classified. Um, I just think that there's a lot of time out there. We could ask some of them right now. I can see Mr. Somebody's looking at me.
So, this is my opinion only, okay? It is very time consuming in the format of Frontline is so there's an abnormal amount of steps. But then as you move through the process, if the other party moves through the step before you do because you have to submit, acknowledge, finalize, then you have to start over with that particular piece. And I can honestly say that January, February, March, and half of April, I just spent the whole time doing evaluations in classrooms. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that's how it works for me.
How many employee or how many classified do you have in your building?
Classified's
Or
different.
excuse me, certified.
Certified, we got 35. I'm just evaluating 32 just because I share with other principals.
Okay, but you still have to share with other principals, right?
Yep.
So if you were to have to take them all, how many hours per
No.
teacher?
What I mean is that we divvy up. So like if I've got a paper half day, East has one half day, the same one.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We just communicate. He might take care of that.
Gotcha.
But per employee, I would say that because I try to cycle into each classroom at least 4 times. That doesn't always work the way I'd like to, but I try just with discipline and whatnot. But I'd say total, it's probably between 5 and 6 hours per employee.
I was going to say 6 hours as well. I think per employee, from start to finish, 6 hours is a pretty good average. Some may be closer to 8, some more than 5. But
and that's just one semester. So when we look at that, the fact we do a fall semester too, then we have to merge the two into a summative, and that's the one that goes in that's more important. What would you guess? 14.
Well, that's so. If I can venture to say that the time I spend in the classroom is not the time that worries me. I mean, I like being in the classroom.
Sure.
Not necessarily.
Sure, that's just part of it, though, correct?
Yeah. But
I agree with him. It's the paperwork piece, not necessarily the paperwork, but the software we use is a pain.
Okay. So my question, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I am not an educator, but could you use that time better used with your students in your building?
Yep.
Okay, I can see 2 right there. Miss Maggie. That 3. Mrs. I'm just putting it out there, guys.
The observation part and I mean that I love that stuff. We're going in a classroom for improvement, but yeah, the paperwork is very
Is it as he says is it called Frontline?
Yep.
Is it just that program that makes it more difficult? Time consuming?
No. Yes and no. So what has happened?
Could you come up to the front and talk so everybody can hear? I don't know. I don't we don't have everybody here. I'm sorry.
So what has happened is the extent that Danielson has to be used because of the advanced professional rung and because of the teachers, striving to get that far. They have to have so many proficient and distinguished. And so when you start going into teachers' classrooms and like Corey brought up that student led, the language of Danielson, you have to follow those domains and components, and you have to follow them very closely because of the way that the state has has designed that advanced professional and how those teachers want to reach for that goal. And so it becomes very time consuming because you can't just say you did an excellent job and you state a few things. You have to use that Danielson language. So when I'm sitting there filling out my observations, I go into the classroom and the first thing I look for is domains 2 and 3. And then I have key indicators and I mark those. And then I type up my observation and I send it to the teacher, and then I have to transfer that and put it into Frontline. And then I have to go in and mark all of those indicators. And then if you mark distinguished, you have to provide evidence, and you have to use your Danielson language to provide that evidence. And then that's observation 1. Then you have to do observation 2. And if there was any way that observation 1 and 2 were in the final form, it would make it easier. But once you finish 1 and 2, then it has to load into 3, which is your summative, and then you have to go in and you still have to mark all of those indicators. And it's pages and pages and pages. And if you put distinguished, you have to provide evidence of what you saw. And for me, I am really picky about that because I feel like I have to use that Danielson language and follow that protocol so that when I have those meetings with teachers of why or why not they're distinguished, I can use those domains and those components.
Okay. I guess my question to you, Mrs. Kidd, how long for one teacher, how long does it take you?
Well, I'm pretty thorough, so it takes me about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours per teacher.
Okay, how many teachers at the high school?
70. I don't do them all, thank goodness. I'd still be working on them. But I do 26 teachers.
I'm just going to ask, is that time? I mean, I know they have to be done because something has to be done there, or because we have to have some clarity of what's going on. But are you feeling like you're getting taken away from your school? That you could be doing something
My
else?
frustration is I've been working on them at home.
What?
I work on them at home. I try to do stuff at school that I do at school because I realistically, I cannot shut my door and say, sorry, I'm working on evaluations for the next month. I can't do that. So I have to take them home. And that's where I spend most of my time working on them, is at home.
I'd second that. That's what Sundays are.
Yikes.
May the odds forever be in your favor. That's what I put because it takes forever.
And then Michelle Whitmire,
I think Mrs. Whitmire.
So I was just going to say, policy is this is what's been stapled on what components need to be a part of that. Frontline is a different issue. It's a separate issue. We have to use this model of evaluation. But we can choose how we put it together and the forms that we use.
That was my question. It seems like it's the software, or is it the software, or is it the policy?
Danielson is very specific. And we've all had the training on it. It is extremely specific. And you have to use the Danielson language because if you have a teacher that comes in and says, I feel like I'm distinguished, there is a definite difference between that language, between a proficient teacher and a distinguished teacher. And if you can follow that language, it's really easy to find that evidence of that student-led classroom.
Mrs.
Can I ask you real quick? Before we started with Frontline, we were just doing this all on paper and stuff. I mean,
And it was one paper. You had to provide so many written observations had to be given to the teacher. One before the end of first semester, and then one second semester, and we still do that. We give them that written document, but then we have to transfer it to observation 1, observation 2, and the summative.
Mrs. Hepworth, did I see it?
Yeah, I mean, 7 years ago, when I went out to CEQA, Frontline came from the state and they were sent an email and they're like, hey, do you want to try this, you know? So I feel like I kind of have to take a little bit of the heat from behind the scenes to say, like, it was paper and it did not do, in my opinion, the justice to actually articulate an entire teacher evaluation. Was it easier? Yeah, but I felt like there was more work on our end to actually show all of the pieces from the observation. Yeah, and then what you had to do is you had to keep it all collected and then turn in to district. I'm talking stacks of paper because it wasn't digital. So me, in my world, I was like, there's got to be a better way. This came out, the state was like, hey, districts, you can, you know. So I pushed to say, hey, we need something. I think there's both pieces. It is cumbersome, but when I reflect back on all of the years of doing it, if as a building principal you still go in and do observations in a notebook and then go and transfer it into the program, it's twice as much work. But it's whatever you're comfortable with, so I'm not going to say what's easier. I've just learned if I go in there with my computer in the actual software program and type, then I don't have to type those again. But that's what works for me, that might not work for
And how
somebody
many
else.
teachers do you do?
20. So, but I'm not saying my way's right. I'm just saying sometimes you have to kind of shift. And so, but yeah, if you wait and like do the observations and then come April, like I did this year, I made myself a living nightmare because I felt like I didn't have time to do any of it and finalize it. It was a lot of hours put in, but I shot myself in the foot because I didn't manage my time better from all of this frank. I mean, that's just me being reflective on how I was and just being real. But what I do love about the program, if I'm going to defend it just a little bit, is that it's all there. So then in the summer, when the state randomly audits you, I don't have to come in and gather all my things or find any missing pieces. All of that's submitted to HR, and they can pull all of that and see all of it.
I'm just wondering if there's something that it could be conglomerated to.
Yeah.
Maybe smoosh.
So I can speak to them since I am the lucky one that gets to edit it. But they're like, I'll ask at the end of the year, what do you want different about the form? So right now they do observation 1 should be done by the end of December and it should be closed, finalized. Then they do observation 2. Once they close and finalize that, it will roll over into 2 more pieces. So there is a summative evaluation. Right now, with the request at the end of last year, it does not calculate. So it's going to pull in observation 1 and 2, and they can expand a report and see what's marked on each of those. So maybe somebody was marked proficient in observation 1 and distinguished in observation 2. I can make it average that and determine what it will mark on the final, but they've asked no, they want to go in and mark it themselves. So that's something the company can do. Then it does roll into what's called a weighted calculation, and it's a condensed, it doesn't have every single component. It just does like a summary of it. It says domain 1, 3, instead of putting the actual. So there's a lot of pieces of it that we determine what it looks like. So like when we first started it, evaluation best practices that you would meet with the teacher prior to their evaluation. So there was a form for that, and then there was a middle one, and then there was an ending one. So we removed a lot of those extra forms. The first year there was an insane amount of forms, which we didn't complete all of them. We just finalized without actually doing it.
I understand they have to be done. I understand they have to go to the state. I just feel like our educators are having to do a lot of work that they could be back out in the schools and helping their teachers and things out there.
If we could find some sort of happy medium between the efficiency of the paper thing and the convenience of the electronic, that would be best. I mean, after four years or so doing it, we're finding. I feel like this year was the fastest it's ever been because I actually helped tweak a few things to where it was little bit quicker, and every year it's better. But I agree with Heather. I would never want to go back to the stacks of paper thing again.
True.
It was just a nightmare, and I'd rather spend more time on the computer doing that than do what we used to do. So there.
Well, it's nice. The wording's there. I just have to click the box. Before, you had to type up the wording and justify it.
Didn't have all that wording on it.
Yeah, no. So now you just go in and check boxes.
Okay, so
It's cumbersome, but I don't know that I would.
Mrs. Kidd said it takes her about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do one individual. Is that what most of you find for each one? Okay.
If we're talking just the evaluation at the end of the year, yeah, but if we're talking the whole year from start to finish, it's about 6 hours.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted that discussion. I just needed the board to know what you guys were going through. So,
Okay. Because of the redlining of that one,
what's that? No, that one does not affect this policy, right? Yeah, no. Frontline is different.
Right, we're talking two different things here.
Yes, but I did not realize until she explained it.
Started off talking about the policy, and now we're talking about the software.
But that's what it was.
Right.
I will tell you an HR piece of this. So before it was electronic, so at the end of the year, there's a thing called the CLDS, or Modern Data System, and all the data has to be sent to the state on evaluations. So when they did it on paper, like literally HR would have to take every observation and then go report it. This one will extract everything for them, which is probably a lot more accurate. And I would say that is a benefit of having an electronic way.
Probably after the legwork's been done. I'm sure.
I think it used to take anyway.
okay. So our policy, I know we're kind of skipping ahead here, but on that one, it is something that has a lot added to it, changed and stuff like that. Are you comfortable with holding it over?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, so that is the preference. Okay, with that, unless someone has anything else for policy 268.00 and policy 302.00, we can lump those together and pass them with just the few things that are in it, if you would like. So I would entertain a motion to accept those two policies as I read them.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion
Okay.
to approve or accept those two policies.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Sukan to accept policy 260.00 as well as 2.268.00P for procedure and policy 302.00 open enrollment. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Claridge. All those in favor vote say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, and then we will hold policy number 3 for another reading. And then,
Madam Chair, I do have some feedback on 9C,
okay,
the basketball.
good.
Okay, so what Mr. Manning said is that there is no minimum or maximum. He said if he needs to give us a number within his own budget, he can buy 400 tickets now at the $17 a piece, and then sell them, and then he would refund his own self through his own budget. But in reaching out to some other people like Harper Farms and other people, he would like to shoot for over 1,000. But he said if you need me to give you a hard number, the hard number I can give you today is 400. But he would prefer to leave it open so that he can try to buy more tickets, sell more tickets, and then get more money back. But he said ultimately it's zero cost to whoever the funding comes from, because as that $17 that they sell back, it will go back to refund whether it be Harper Farms or Minidoka High School basketball program, and then they'll get that $7 back from Tommy's.
Okay.
So
okay, was that?
So would it be okay if I was to make a motion that would say that we would make a approval for his fundraiser with him personally only being able to purchase 400 tickets out of his own budget, but leaving it open to other entities to purchase other tickets on his behalf or on the basketball?
Could it be worded that it would be, that we approve the Minico basketball fundraiser with donations of a minimum of 400 tickets?
Or yeah, up to 400
as
tickets.
And a maximum.
and then open maximum depending on circumstances or donors or whatever,
Other additional donors or something.
or additional donors. Yes.
Well, if the car wash will buy the unused tickets back anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's a
There's
huge deal.
zero opportunity for loss in it.
Correct. I just don't want him to exceed what his budget actually is, even though they will buy them back. I don't think that's good practice to just leave an open check.
His expectation, I told him I need a number. He was going to shoot for 1,000 because he thought that would be, they could get the number of boys to sell that many tickets a piece would come to a total of 1,000. But he said in his budget, he could afford to buy 400. But he was thinking he'd be able to get more from donors.
Right. That's all I'm saying is his funds, he can buy the 400, but he'd be allowed to purchase more through other donors.
Through private donation.
But
Sweet.
we're giving him clearance to purchase the 400 out of his own account. Now, if he gets all 1,000 from donors, great, and he doesn't touch his budget, that's totally fine. I'm just saying, I'd be willing to say, give him the allotment to go up to the 400 that he has in his own budget, and then additional, but leave it open that he can purchase additional ones with aid of other donors.
Okay. So what if it was worded that
Speak slow because it's hard to hear.
I don't. I was just gonna say a motion to approve the basketball fundraiser with the pre-purchase of a certain amount of car washes, with that number to be determined by donors. Does that meet the needs?
I was thinking we would approve it as written with the expectation that the basketball program currently can afford 400 tickets, but they can purchase more than that with donated funds.
Yeah.
That works for me too.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Just a
Yep.
minute. Okay. Fundraiser.
That sounds good.
I'll make a
Approval
motion. So, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we approve the basketball fundraisers in partnership with Tommy's Car Wash as written.
Just a sec.
Tommy's Car Wash
As written.
as written, with the stipulation that Minico basketball program can currently afford 400 tickets,
Just a second. 400 tickets. Okay.
but can purchase more than that with private donation.
Private donation. Okay. Got it.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Perez, second by Mr. Claridge. Any further comments, questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And with that,
You want? Do we need to adjourn or?
we have a little bit more discussion to do. So I think we're just going to take a break in the meeting at this moment and continue it. So, again, thank you all for coming. We do very much appreciate having an audience out there to answer our questions. So thank you.
Do we need to adjourn?
We will.
We're still back in there. We're still back in there.
Yeah, we're still in open until we get there. Yeah.
Gotta go back and have a sweet. Yeah, it's been a while.